Hey guys, it's Megan and welcome to my first YouTube video. Not the first one I've filmed though. I finally have internet that will probably allow me to upload this video today instead of in a week. Yay, good internet! So I thought I would kick off my channel with a February wrap up so you guys can kind of see the stuff I read, or at least a sample of it, so you can kind of get to know each other, you know? So let's jump right into it. The first book I read in February was Empire of Storms by Sarah J. Maas. It is part of the Throne of Glass series. And if you haven't read the Throne of Glass series, what are you doing with life? It is so good. If you like YA, if you like fantasy, I definitely recommend it. This is book 5 in the series. And I'm not going to say anything because spoilers, darling. Definitely worth it though. And that ending, if you read this, you know what I'm talking about. That ending though. That ending. The next book I read this month was Bitten. Actually, yes, it was Bitten. But I'm going to do Chocolat because I already have pulled up on the e-reader, guys. So the next book I read this month was Chocolat by Joanne Harris. I did do this one on e-reader because I went on vacation, and unfortunately physical books are just far too heavy to carry internationally. So I went with the e-reader. And Chocolat, if you do not know, is about a woman and her daughter. They kind of go with the winds and they're very transient, move into different cities, stay for a little bit, and then leave when the wind changes. So as far as this goes, they end up in a really conservative town, and they're very not conservative, sorry. She opens a chocolate shop and kind of goes from there. It's a bit of magical realism. I don't want to give everything away, but if you have seen that Johnny Depp movie, do know that I read this to kind of see what the comparison is. It's not one of my normal style picks, but I did quite enjoy this, and it was fairly similar to the movie. So if you have watched the movie recently, I would probably say you don't really need to read the book, but there is a couple little things that are different. So, I mean, find out yourself if the book is better than the movie. Let's go. Next, I read The Girl Who Played with Fire by Stieg Larsson. It's part of the Millennium Trilogy, aka the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo series. As you can see, this is actually, guys, I got this whole series, cloth bound collector's edition, $20 at Chapters. I seen it there when I was just there today. So if you like this series, I suggest going to Chapters, yo. So The Girl Who Played with Fire by Stieg Larsson, as I was saying, this is my cloth bound collector's copy, which is really pretty, and I do really enjoy it. This book, it was a little bit different than the first one. The first one was very much a case in of itself contained in that book. It could technically be a standalone. You don't necessarily have to read any other books to find out what's going on. That is not the case with the second and third books, however. They are another case that runs between the two books. I do personally think that the second book and the third book are not quite as heavy as the first. So if the first one was a little heavy for you, or if you just couldn't get into it because it was so heavy, then I would tell you that it gets a little bit lighter. That being said, this becomes less of a murder mystery and a little bit more of a undercover investigation sort of style. And like I said, it follows Lisbeth Salander and Mikkel Blomkvist as they investigate another case where things get crazy, guys. Things get crazy. So if you haven't read the rest of the series, I definitely recommend it. I read this one and the next one back to back last month. So that should tell you right there. I binged it, guys. I binged it. So good. Definitely recommend. It is, like I said, a heavier read though. So I would maybe suggest if you're a little bit younger, you probably don't read it unless you're okay with relatively graphic rape scenes and some murder and heavy stuff going on here. But it's so good. The next book I read, as I said, was The Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest, which is the third and final installment in Stieg Larsson's Millennium Trilogy. As you can see, again, beautiful cloth bound edition. $20, guys. $20. What? Who gets a box set for $20? Clawback. What? This is the exciting conclusion to the Millennium Trilogy. I do believe that there is another one out there where someone had found the manuscript for a fourth one on his computer and finished it. I don't believe it's technically been published by Stieg Larsson though. So this is the final one that was written by the original author. I have not read any other ones, so there's that. This one gets really, really intense and a lot of things hang in the balance here, guys. A lot of things. If you've read it, you know. If you haven't, oh my god. So intense. What was that? The next book I read last month was Bitten by Kelly Armstrong. It is part of the Woman of the Other World series. This is one of the werewolf novels in that series. It's about a girl who was human, was turned into a werewolf, and now she's at this crosshairs where she has to decide whether she wants to break off from the pack and kind of try and live her human life still, or whether she just embraces it and goes to the pack life. Basically, she gets caught up in a murder mystery case when she goes back to visit her pack, and she's in between. She's trying to decide whether she'll go human or whether she'll go werewolf. There's lots of relationships and crazy, fun, action-packed stuff going on in this book. It was a really fun read, and it was a really quick read. So if that's what you're into, especially if you like fantasy, paranormal, werewolfy stuff, I definitely recommend this series. The next book I read was actually an audiobook, and it was Stephenie Meyer's The Chemist. The cover's actually really boring on this one, guys, so I wasn't sure if I was going to read it, and then I read the description, and I really wasn't sure. It is an adult spy thriller. And in the end, I did like Stephenie Meyer's Twilight series when I read it. I do love The Host. That is still one of my favorite books. I do not like the movie. I'm putting it out there, okay? So I do like The Host. So I was kind of on the fence about this one, but I was like, you know what? I liked most of her books when I read them, or I still like them now. So I'll give it a shot. I'm kind of on the fence about it, guys. I really, really am. The start of it was very, we follow this character who's just super emotionless, it seems, in the first half of the book. Now, some of her books are really slow to get into, so I tried to stick with it, but I almost put this one down. And then there was a classic insta-love moment that was almost cringeworthy. Literally, the guy said, "I like your face." Really, guys? Awkward. So, after that insta-love moment, though, the book became completely different. All of a sudden, we went from being a super, super sterile, bland, straightforward scientific book. And then this insta-love moment happened, and then it almost became another book entirely. All of a sudden, this girl who never hangs out with other people is fast at making snappy comebacks. She's super social. She's a master of this and that and all this other stuff. And it becomes super action-packed. I do like the characters in the second half of the novel. The insta-love scene is really, really cringeworthy. If you have read it, you definitely know what I'm talking about. And the start of it, I found extremely boring. So, if you could just fix up that start half, smack it onto that last half, it would be an epic novel. But as it sits right now, I think I gave it 3.5 stars on Goodreads, or that's what I would if they had half stars. Let's go, Goodreads. If they had half stars, it would be 3.5 stars, because it was good, but it wasn't great, and it was definitely not the worst book I have read. There are far worse. And the last book I read in the month of February was part of my all-time favorite series, and that was the illustrated edition of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. If you have not got your hands on these editions, guys, what are you doing with your life? So good. I'm sure you're sick of hearing me clapping my hands and stuff, but such a good series, beautifully illustrated. If you haven't picked them up, like I said, what are you doing with your life? Because these are so nice. They are a little bit pricey depending on what you like. I think that they are reasonably priced for what they are, how big they are, the illustrations, the quality. I think they're reasonably priced, but for some people, $50 is just a little too steep for a book. That's 50 Canadian dollars at Chapters. It was the same price that I got the Philosopher's Stone at. That was $50 as well. But guys, these books are so beautifully illustrated. Even pages where there is no illustrations, there's like textures going on. You can see there's like little splotches and stuff, and there's some like smears on pages and stuff in like the background. So even the pages that aren't completely illustrated are beautiful, but then at the same time you get beautiful illustrated spreads like this that are just so beautiful. So beautiful. And there's so many details in them. It's just really, it's like my favorite thing of life. And I'm pretty sure the third one comes out this year, so you know I'm going to be getting that. And it's a great way to reread the Harry Potter series, or start rereading it, if you really enjoy it. And then I only have one book left, and it is a Wattpad novel. If you don't know what Wattpad is, it's a site that people can post their writing on for free, and you can download the app and use it as an e-reader for free. However, because people can post their own content on there, and because it is free, sometimes you have to search. It's like shopping at Winners. There can be a lot of garbage, and then there can be some real gems. So this past month, the gem that I read was Darkside by writer Kelly. And it is another werewolf series, but instead of your typical main character is a werewolf or main character is turned into a werewolf, this one is just main character finds out about werewolves. And then there's some crazy stuff going on, and she finds out that perhaps she might have some werewolf genes in her after all. And there's a whole murder mystery thing going down. There's some relatively hot sheriffs that are werewolves that are creeping around, and there's just a lot going on in this novel, but it is so good, and the characters are really well developed, and this story is complete. I have also read the next installment, or as much of it as she has published already. It is posted chapter by chapter, so I would definitely recommend, if you're on Wattpad or if you're interested in Wattpad, on reading Darkside by writer Kelly. Otherwise, I think that's everything, guys. That is all for my February wrap up. If you like this video, please let me know. If you have ideas on how I can improve my videos, also let me know, please. We're gonna call this a wraps. That's the end of what I read this February, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.